to talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, thanks. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Well, good morning. I'm Paige Clark, and welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
Yes, to recover our natural health and regain our rights and our freedoms, I'm Nico DeHaan.
And it's a beautiful day in downtown Clearwater, 79 degrees, kind of humid, but I'm sure it's a beautiful day where you are as well.
Definitely is. And if you'd like to reach out to us, if you have any comments or suggestions for the show, you can reach me at nico@tfnn.com.
And me at Paige@tfnn.com. And we're taking your calls today. Join us on the phone, by phone and wherever you are, and let us know what you'd like to talk about on the show at 877-927-6648.
Yeah, before we get rolling here, I do want to mention we have a special event coming up. If you go to TFNN.com, you'll see...
Beyond Diet, Exercise, and Supplements. We're going to be doing a live webinar on August 4th, so at 6:30 Eastern Time.
Yeah, what you need to take your health to the next level. A 1-hour discussion with Nico and Paige of living a primal lifestyle, where they outline the steps to total health beyond food you eat, the exercise you get, and the supplements you take. Today, it really takes more to achieve total health. So please join us for practical tips, tools, and techniques to help you do just that. Reserve your spot now. This is available to all Health Signal newsletter subscribers and Primal Edge monthly and one-time buyers, and anybody who signs up for either one of those, the Health Signals newsletter or the Primal Edge before the show airs. And it airs on August 4th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m., about an hour, maybe a little bit more. We'll see how it goes and if we can cover everything. But I'm excited about this.
Yeah, that'll be nice. We'll be able to take your questions and answer anything you need to know.
Definitely.
Well, here's some things you need to know. There's 10 things you need to know about Florida's harmful algae blooms. And regardless of where you are in the country, the situation that's going on in Florida can impact you as well, based on the waterways where we can see these overgrowths that actually do have harmful effects for us.
And one of the things I want to mention on this, because for about the last 60 days, maybe 8 weeks, a lot of people have a lot of congestion problems in Florida on this coast.
Itchy eyes and a little bit of congestion, correct.
And it doesn't seem to go away. It's and when you cough it up, it's kind of clear, so you don't really have an infection, but you know there's something going on there. I feel it every morning. I'm coughing a lot of times, and we were all really puzzled, and we really didn't connect it with this algae bloom. But, starting to look at the weather for the last week, we see that the easterly winds, southeasterly winds, are coming right from South Florida, right up the coast here to us.
And that's where it's going on, folks, in the Treasure Coast of Florida, South Florida. And the enormous harmful algae bloom has blanketed Florida's Treasure Coast waterways with a guacamole-like blue-green sludge.
But it's not appetizing at all.
And it's a man-made affliction. Again, not a primal situation, folks, a man-made situation, and one that periodically plagues the Sunshine State, which discourages residents and tourists alike. It is not attractive, and it's not healthy for us. So let's explore more.
This is one of the biggest ones we've had. We've had it up on this coast on different years on a small basis, but this is the largest release they made out of the Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
So where it came
actually,
from.
earlier this month, Governor Rick Scott declared a state of emergency in 4 Florida counties due to the bloom reaching the beaches this spring. And on Friday, actually, President Obama administration denied his request for a federal emergency declaration. So that was kind of interesting.
Well, I think that's political. Obama and him never got along.
That's true. They're not best buddies.
So that's what happens, unfortunately. This has been a problem ongoing for many, many years. This is a year where it's really, really bad. And the weather plays a big role in it because it's sending it to us on our coast. But I think, as you mentioned before we started this program, this is not just a Florida issue, is it?
Oh, no, it isn't. In fact, something came through my news feed yesterday that was talking about where a lot of our elite families have their summer homes. In the Hamptons, there's a couple of lakes that are pure green as a result of the runoff of pesticides. These algae blooms are really a result of toxins and pesticides and all those things that we're doing. And fertilizers, correct. Pesticides, fertilizers. So what is it and where did it come from? This algae is a cyanobacteria found in the Lake Okeechobee, which comes from the runoff that comes from human waste and fertilizers from nearby farms and ordinary neighborhoods, according to the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission.
Yeah, it's kind of a natural reaction that the ocean is trying to get rid of this stuff by pocketing in this, so it's toxic to the fish in there, but at least it's not spreading over the whole ocean, that type of thing, where it's harming some of the bigger predators. And
it's the nitrogen and phosphorus that's in our synthetic fertilizers that actually act as a feeding situation.
Yep.
It actually feeds the algae and it creates larger and more extensive blooms.
So let's talk about some of the risks that are involved in this, because on our coast, it's we could say, well, it's kind of chronic. It might be a little minor. It's not causing anybody death or anything like that. But on the east coast and on the southwest coast, where this stuff is just hanging out,
they're seeing some more symptoms. And if you ingest water contaminated with these toxic cyanobacteria, it can cause nausea or vomiting, and in severe cases, even liver failure. Little acute functions on the liver. The body does not like these toxins.
You're really being overwhelmed with the toxins. The liver can't keep up because not only is it high-level toxicity, it's continuous, on a continuous basis, day after day after day for months.
Here's another thing. The Center for Disease Control is saying that direct contact with the algae can cause a rash, and some research indicates that there's a link between long-term inhalation of these algae toxic fumes and neurological disorders like Parkinson's and Lou Gehrig's. Isn't that interesting? Again, we know that all of these diseases are usually a result of the body trying to heal itself
and being overwhelmed
by the toxic load.
Yeah, and this is just another one of the many, many things we have.
As a result of man.
Yeah.
Progress or not.
Yeah, progress or not, exactly.
And the risk to wildlife and pets, as we all know. Wildlife and pets are exposed to the same kinds of risks that humans are. And, we should be particularly cautious if you have pets and this is going on. We need to try and protect them from access to these kind of blooms.
People are asking, why did it reach the beaches, if it's in Lake Okeechobee? Well, in January, record rains prompted the U.S. Corps of Engineers to start releasing the polluted water in the rivers and the estuaries in an attempt to keep the lake from overflowing, but also, remember, it's hurricane season.
Right.
So they want the lake lower just in case we get those rains.
And so the algae bloom became so extensive that it ended up reaching the beaches.
Yep.
So there's an economic impact to this, folks.
Huge.
And the impact is great. Healthcare costs from hospitals and doctors' visits, beach cleanup activities following the fish kills, and losses in tourism revenues in Florida is a big issue.
Oh, I never even thought of that part of it. Yeah.
Well, the total loss associated with Florida's most recent outbreak is unknown at this point. On average, $22 million are lost annually in healthcare costs during these blooms.
That's like $1 million a person.
Yeah, exactly. That's
pretty
scary.
Yeah. Okay, we are on a break. Remind you to pick up our new Health Signals newsletter.
Hot off the press. Good
exactly.
stuff.
And pick up our Primal Edge so you can see that show on the 4th. And
we'll be right back.
Yeah, 877-927-6648. Welcome back to the show, folks. We're talking about the Florida algae bloom, and I have on the telestrator here a good picture of it showing you.
That's quite an aerial view.
Quite a look like. Actually, a lot of the shots I've seen are much, much deeper than this and much, much bigger. But we've discussed the economic impact. $22 million are lost annually to health costs alone during these times.
But there's some short-term solutions. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in the South Florida Water Management District, which controls much of the flow through levees and gates, they stopped releasing the water into the rivers in an attempt to kind of curb the algae bloom.
Right.
So at least they're working on it. But what's the long-term solution?
Well, according to the AP, Scott wants to spend unspecified millions to get homeowners off septic tanks and onto sewer lines, reducing the nitrogen runoff. See, he also wants to hurry along the $88 million project to strengthen the dike which surrounds Lake Okeechobee, which controls the water flow. It's an 18-year project scheduled for completion in 2025, but Scott is calling on federal authorities to help with the job go faster. Good luck with that. The political debate between the Democrats and the Republicans over the allocation of funds is heating the process. The thing about this, nowhere are they discussing, let's not use these fertilizers and these pesticides.
Right.
That's not in the ballpark here.
Yeah, and that's the core of the problem. And that's what we're always talking about. We want to get to the root of the disease, and this is a disease. The microorganism and the macroorganism, our world, the earth, is being infected.
And the thing is, we know this is going to continue. The Environmental Protection Agency says that predicting future algae blooms and preventing them are daunting and complicated tasks, because the nature of most freshwater algae bloom events make it difficult to predict when the bloom will occur, how long it will last. Well, I consider that if you start releasing water from Lake Okeechobee that has all this stuff in it into the ocean, you're going to get it. So it's not hard to predict at all.
Yeah, I
It's
agree
hard to
with
predict
you, Nico.
because you know they're going to do this.
Right,
You
and
know they're not going to stop the pesticides. You know they're not going to stop the nitrogen, fertilizers, and those things. They're not going to stop those. They pretty much say, hey, we're not going to do what really is stopping it, but
We're just going to put Band-Aids on it.
Exactly.
Like so many people do
Kinda
with their bodies.
Kind of like our healthcare system.
Exactly. And where's that gotten us, folks?
So what kind of precautions can you take personally here?
Yeah, you need to take some precautions because the center recommends that people refrain from swimming, water skiing, or boating in areas where the water is discolored or where
it's pretty
foam or
common
scum,
sense.
is there. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're going into green water, you kind of something's wrong with you.
Exactly, I agree.
My thinking, anyway.
Yeah, and if you do go in that green water or that pea soup, then make sure you rinse yourself off.
Yeah, and also your pets. I mean,
But
that's
avoid irrigating lawns or golf courses with pond water that looks scummy or smell bad. And, any musty smell or taste in your drinking water, report it to your local water authorities. But, we really wanted to focus on this. No matter where you are, this can happen. Where, as I mentioned, I should have tried to grab it. It went through the news feed. They're having problems with this up in even places like the Hamptons around these very affluent homes due to all the golf course and runoff of the pesticides and so forth. So this can happen in interior lakes or rivers or wherever you are. We've got to start taking care of our Mother Earth, and we've got to be aware of what's causing the problem. And we're causing a lot of the problem, but we're part of the solution too.
We can be.
We can
certainly
be. That's what we want to
part
be.
of the first problem in Florida, of course, is the great development that we've had. We take a swampy area and drain it and then run canals through it to get the water out of there, to keep it out of there.
And then we build houses there.
Yeah, we build
add more
houses
people
there, and of course we put them in harm's way all the time with different storms and the natural flow of the whole state of Florida, at least from Lake Okeechobee south, but probably up from the Alcoa forest even, because the drainage, the natural flow has really stopped. They've been trying to correct this thing for years.
Yes.
And spending millions and millions. First they spend millions and millions to get this done, now millions and millions to kind of undo it. It's been stopped at several things because of the different political agendas, and certainly developers want to develop. The cattle people want to raise cattle. The sugarcane people want to raise sugarcane. And all these things are slowly but surely killing Florida.
I think that they should consult some Indians on this solution, because Indians always knew how to restore the earth as they used it to produce things. They had cycling, and our American Indians knew how to take care of the earth. So that's what they should do, with some of those millions of dollars in
if you
grants.
look at some of the real great documentaries on the indigenous people in Florida and how they lived with the environment, not changing the environment, but figuring out how can we get our food, how can we keep healthy, how can we keep our vitality, and our future generations have this beautiful, beautiful land that is here.
Well, the answer truly is in living a primal lifestyle and returning to the way that they originally did it, because that leads to a long life. And speaking of living a long life, how about the healthiest person on the planet? Maybe, Nico, I don't know if can you show this picture of this guy? Because I'm blown away. The healthiest person on the planet explains how to stay in shape, and his name is Charles Ugster, and he poses with his World Rowing Masters trophy, and I think you said he was 93 years young?
96, I believe.
96 years young.
Yeah, 96 years old.
And he is the greatest. Charles Ugster is the greatest British sprinter you've probably never heard of. He currently holds world records in the 200-meter indoor and the 400-meter outdoor sprints, as well as British records in the 60-meter and 100-meter, etc. He is amazing, and he is 96 years young or old.
I'm, admire
He's
people.
your hero. My hero, too.
He is, too, yeah, for sure, because, when people come to me at Jiu-Jitsu and say, I can't believe you're still doing this. And I look at a guy who's 25 years my senior.
Yeah.
And doing all the things he does, much more beyond what I'm doing, I think. He's just a happy guy.
He's an ex-dentist who now lives in Switzerland, is arguably the fittest senior citizen on the planet. He's also a bodybuilder, a public speaker, a writer, a rower, a wakeboarder, an entrepreneur, and a budding fashion designer, planning his own line in elderly couture. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
More than anything else.
But more than anything else, he's a professional death defier who's just grown, has just slowed down the ravages of aging and actually reversing them. And that's what it's all about. Aging is not something that we have to accept. We can fight it all the way and actually reverse it by doing important things so that you can actually not just get older, but get better.
And he,
like fine wine.
Yeah, and he started a little bit later in life, too, like I did. On this whole journey, too.
On health journey,
yeah,
yes.
In his 60s, I think he started realizing what was going on, and then he all of a sudden upped his game. A few interesting things that he says, one of the questions they ask him 9 years on, at 96, how do you feel old? He says, no, I feel younger than I was in my 60s tops. He says, being fit is a wonderful thing. When I turned 90, I got severe colds every November, but now they've completely stopped. I haven't had 2 in 6 years. So he's really taking care of himself, and he's really
keeping the immune system strong.
Yeah, keeping it strong, and really looking at different things, not only exercise, but how to eat. One of the stories he has is about his pubic hair.
Say that again, Nico.
Yeah.
Well, you know about the story about my pubic hair, don't you? He said.
Yeah. And the thing is that in his 60s, he was completely gray all over his body. As he went on this journey and became better at picking the food he was eating and upping his fat, all of a sudden the minerals and everything started restoring in his body, and the pubic hair started being his natural color again.
Well, what that tells you is he stimulated that meridian, the regenerative meridian,
right.
And the body is recognizing it as being youthful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed when I started on this journey, I really didn't think about the pubic hair, but I was looking at the hair on top of my head, which is probably the last thing to turn. I notice as I'm growing my beard here that there's darker hairs coming in too.
Yeah, you got a little salt and pepper.
Yeah, there's a salt and pepper. So in the 70s, that's not too bad. But now I got myself a hero. I want to talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah, let's talk about what someone at 96 is defying aging. It's probably lessons we can all learn.
That's for sure.
We'll be right back after the break.
Yeah, 877-927-6648.
And we are learning about how the healthiest person on the planet, the healthiest old person on the planet, is doing it. And, I think this is a wise move. Nico, let's go on a little bit more about the pubic hair.
Okay, well, he said, while I was training with Mr. Universe, he took me aside one day and asked, have you noticed an increase in your libido? He said, I was embarrassed. I said, look, this is not something I like to discuss. It's private. But he was very persistent, and in the end, I relented. He says, look now, you must tell everybody else, but you mustn't tell everybody else, but what I'm about to tell you is very dramatic, incredible. Since I started on this program, my pubic hairs, which were white, have turned brown. I mean, wow. So I think it's pretty cool. You start
Listen to this. This is adorable. Look at this guy. He says, you see, the stupid thing is that people just don't realize that you can have a beach body at 90 and turn the heads of the sexy 70-year-old girls on the beach.
Yeah, he says, I'm living proof of that. If you eat right and exercise properly, you can be that guy on any day.
Yeah,
so it really
he's my guy.
Difference.
I love what he's doing. He's full of vibrant energy. Look at him. He's doing things. And so what does he do to stay in shape?
Well, he says variety is the key. I start every day with a protein shake because as you get older, your protein synthesis no longer functions very well. I avoid sugar, eat lots of meat, especially fat. I've been on a fat trip lately. Fat, piles of fat. Yes, I was in the supermarket the other day and was perplexed to find yogurt with 0 fat. What on earth is that?
Yeah. That's Frankenfood, folks.
Yeah, the idea of the nutrition pyramid where at the top is a little fat and a little meat and at the bottom is a lot of carbohydrates.
Sounds like
Excuse me, is bull.
Yeah, it sounds like anybody who created that pyramid was upside down. We need to flip it upside the other way.
Yeah, humans are so unbelievably stupid, he says, that we have begun to tinker with food. Yeah, I've often said that we're the one species on Earth that doesn't know what to eat.
He says, can you imagine a hunter-gatherer enjoying a low-fat yogurt? I think any time food is presented to us in a way that's not the way that nature intended, we need to be concerned. So,
The other comical things, he says, I know you lost your second wife about 15 years ago, but with all this talk about libido, are you looking for love? He says, yes. But the only problem is that it seems I'm so busy and so many other things are happening that I don't have an enormous amount of time. I'm registered with a dating agency, but they can produce our young things of 70. Above 70, there's nothing.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
boy. So I guess he really has to kind of scoop down there and get those young chickens.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
No, I say whatever he's doing, I say to be happy.
Yeah.
And
Okay, the other things he's talking about, he says, what do you think? He says, because people of 70 to 100 years old are obviously the lost population.
yeah, they're often ignored. Unfortunately, this was not the case with our primal ancestors. They were revered. The elders of the tribe was often at the center of the decision making, honored and adored by the people, but not so much. We tend to take our old people and put them away.
That is a real shame that we do here in it's the Western world philosophy of segregation. Not only do we segregate ourselves with population, which is naturally, you want to be around your own people. That's a normal thing. To be around family, that's normal, and that's what we've really taken away. We send our kids away. And then we send our old people away. And in the middle, there's a bunch of people that really have no connection between the two of them.
Yeah, and we've got all living in our own separate houses when there's more space. Back when, we'd live in a community or a tribe or a family commune. I think it would be wonderful if there was more of that. It was interesting, too. He said one of the frustrating things for him is there's no training plans for people over 70 for working out or gyms, as there are in Japan. Again, Japan is a country that adores the elder people and honors them and takes care of them. Not unexpectedly are they the longest lived populations
and they
of
stay
Japan.
in the family.
Yes.
They don't move outside to another community where they don't allow kids or allow young people to live.
Hey, what does he say about retirement? Retirement is the biggest killer of old people, and he prefers to call it voluntary unemployment. And he's really got a interesting approach to everything. He says our expire date is 65, after which we're thrown on the rubbish heap and chemically treated.
Boy.
And isn't that true? So one of the things we know is that the pharmaceutical industry insiders have come clean to say that there are people in the pharmaceutical industry that have a business plan to ensure that every person over 55 is on a cocktail or an annuity of pharmaceutical drugs. I think he just nailed it with what he said there.
Yeah, they have nothing to do except sit around and get sick. This is a world problem, and it needs to change, and that's exactly what we want to talk about. How do we change this?
And that's why we're here, to help you live longer and live stronger.
Yeah.
So that's what he says. What's his answer? Put old people to work. And one of the things I want to do is set up a retraining program. He'd like to see companies set up in old people's homes that offer, say, computer services. So he's got solutions, and he's taking action, and that's what we all have to really do.
Yeah, I think the new paradigm should be for corporations. When you're 18 years old and you start to work, you make $2 an hour, and you get to your 20s, you make $4 an hour. By the time you get to 70 or 80, you should be making like $100 an hour.
Yes, exactly.
So
all
you
that
can
wisdom.
live your life to the fullest, and you know where you're going, and everybody's kind of equal in that way. If you work harder, you get more money. That's no problem.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. He's seen a World War, a Cold War, the Great Depression. God knows how many financial crises he's been a part of.
That's for sure, boy.
And, all the good things that have happened. When he was asked, what's the one piece of advice you'd give to young people today? He said, explore your talents and never stop learning.
That's for sure.
In your lifetime, you will not have one job, but you will have a huge number of jobs in different areas.
Yeah, we never thought of that. When I was in high school, I thought, okay, I'm going to get one job, and that'll carry me through. And as it was, I probably had 15 or 20 different types of jobs. It's pretty neat.
I think that we're here to have experiences. That's why we're here, and to grow from these experiences and to wake up why we're here. That's the real important thing, and these experiences can help you do that.
Yeah.
So,
youth is so fantastic, but we should be impressing on people how wonderful, stupendous, exciting, and amazing old age can be too. Oh, exercise and eat lots of fat. and now you know why. So what else is on his bucket list?
He's writing a book called 97 and Loving It. I love it. He even actually added another year.
Sure, why not?
He figured by the time he published the book, you know.
Then he wants to establish fitness centers for those people over 70 and start job creation to retain older people. And I don't want to see these old people in McDonald's either. I want to see creative jobs, the arts, people expressing themselves, writing songs, expressing themselves through music and through art, and all these things that can help the future generations also.
Well, you know, he talks about having all these industrious ideas to help the older people. You know, there's a great book out called Turning Silver into Gold, and that's realizing that the silver-haired people, there's a lot of business opportunity to meet the needs of a growing older population.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he says is that he wants to work with nutrition for older people. And the other thing that's in the back of his mind is to create his fashion label for older people, because the way that older people dress is absolutely disgusting. I love it. I can almost
No
hear
doubt about it. I never want
hear
to see those old suits that the old men wear. And, you know, I saw a guy in the 70s the other day, and he had skinny jeans on. It looked a little odd on him, but at least he was trying.
You know,
I'm not going to try the skinny jeans myself.
Well, I think the whole idea is that a lot of times older people get into these comfort clothes,
Yeah.
and, you know, just...
Well, no doubt about it.
He's got a great point.
Give me a baggy jeans, and I'm happy for sure.
If you look good, you feel good.
That's
and
for sure.
So that was really inspiring to hear. And
Yeah,
so,
one of the things he wants to do too. He says, he says, what about your sprinting? He says, well, I have a hamstring that needs to heal, but there's a 105-year-old Japanese guy that he wants to run against him over the 100 meters. They call him the Golden Bolt. So
he's got goals.
He's got goals, and that's what
And
you
we'll
need
get
to
back
say.
and share some more healthy tips right after our break. We'll see you shortly.
Welcome back, folks. Nico and Paige here on Living the Primal Lifestyle. And we were talking on really getting old and staying healthy.
Yes.
And one of the things that he was mentioning, that he eats a lot of fat and he eats a lot of meat.
Yeah, because he's worried about his protein consumption, and there's good reason for that.
Yeah,
We found
there
a
is.
study that was in the Journal of Nutrition.org that found that dietary protein requirements for men over 65 were determined that using an indicator amino acid technique, they were able to determine that the estimates of adequate protein are way too low. In fact, maybe as much as 30% too low.
Yeah, and I see this trend with older people not eating as much, maybe because their
Guess
teeth
why?
is...
They can't digest
They
it.
can't digest, or it could be the
Intuitively,
teeth, too. Yeah.
you avoid foods you can't digest.
Right.
And one of the things is not to allow these older people to stop eating the protein where they're not getting their amino acids that they need for rejuvenation
Yeah.
and repair, is to help them digest their food by supplementing enzymes.
Yeah.
So we can talk about all the supplements in the world. Enzyme nutrition is really important, particularly for all of us today, I believe, because of a lot of the foods that have damaged our guts,
Yeah.
but particularly for the elder people. So,
Yeah, they did 42 different studies on this.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the men were actually eating about a third less than they optimally could eat. And that's just their natural progression of not being able to digest it. And maybe
Right.
the teeth are involved in certain areas. I know my parents lost their teeth during the war and started having issues as they got older
Yes.
for chewing things. And, you know, your gums aren't as good. So that's an important part.
and the other part is to make sure you divide your protein intake across your day, across your feasting time. You know, we like intermittent fasting, but if you're eating your lunch at 11, you know, or your breakfast, you're breaking the fast at 11, eating your lunch at 3, and then having a dinner at 6, so that you can have that nice overnight fasting.
That makes
Just
sense.
make sure you divide your protein into those. Your body uses it better when it has it in small chunks,
Yeah.
and you're able to digest it better.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But let's keep going on this longevity because
I got this article that's a surfer icon, which is Laird Hamilton, shares his 10-point plan to live forever.
hey, I like a man with a plan.
Yeah, and you know, so not only do we have the 96-year-old making a plan for his life, but now we have a young surfer dude.
And he looks like he's pretty healthy.
Yeah,
I like him.
yeah, he's a
you know,
good-looking
but
dude.
perpetual youth is a whimsical notion suited to screenwriters. You know, a lot of people think, you know, to stay young, but I think that the more we plan to be healthy, the more we can expect to produce that results.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
We have a plan and we work our plan.
Yeah.
We are successful.
So his first thing, he says, forget age, just keep driving the car. He says,
I like that.
Yeah, and I like this too, because I always tell the guys at jiu-jitsu when they ask me, how can you keep doing this? What made you decide to keep doing this? Well, I just keep doing it. That's the whole plan, is just to keep doing it. How long am I going to do it? Hopefully forever. If I decide to stop, I hope it's not for my health reasons. It's maybe I'm enjoying too much vacation or something, traveling around the world.
Yeah, he talks about,
certainly.
Laird talks about one of his best buddies is an absolute stud. He's 83 and he works out with weights and he still drives his car. And also, take care of everyday priorities, the stuff you do every day, your sheets, your towels, the food you put in your body. These are all your priorities, not a fancy car or fancy clothes or fancy watches. You know, he says, I used to drink red wine every day, nothing like a good Bordeaux, but haven't had a sip of wine or beer in 9 years and have no desire to. I realize that sugar is not good for your body and that alcohol is one of the biggest culprits. That's something that we have to take note of. And, you know, the fact that alcohol doesn't taste good anyway for a lot of people might be a reason to shun that extra source of sugars, but maybe we do need to take a look. We might have eliminated sugars in our food, but if we're still having that alcohol, we're still getting that sugar fix. It's just not something we need to do every day.
Number 3 is be a fat-burning monster.
A fat-burning machine.
This is showing up so much when we do our research. You know, people are getting it. People who are active know it.
Yes.
People who are living longer, enjoying life, are starting to realize that cutting the fat is not the way to go. You certainly have to eat the healthy fat, but fat is going to be part of the diet. So be a fat-burning monster. He says, I don't eat energy bars. I'm out of the water when I'm out of the water all day. In fact, I don't need to eat anything. My body runs off of its body fat. That's because I'm paleo. I consume hardly any refined sugar, only if it's in a salad dressing. A few raw dairy products and almost no wheat or grains. I eat plants and animals. I actually grew up that way in Hawaii, he says.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't know if we can get that screen. It looks like Al's trying to refresh that screen for people so we can see the picture of Laird. He says, but don't be a zealot. You know, everything in moderation, including moderation. I like that.
Yeah.
Make it achievable, not stressful for me and people around me. You know, getting stressed out about these changes you have to do can create a stress in itself, you know. And golf ball your bare feet. He grew up on bare feet in Hawaii and didn't give a thought to walking on gravel. But he noticed some people who'd been in shoes their whole life couldn't even cross the driveway.
Yeah. I was buddies with a good friend of mine, Ron Slushmeyer, down in Juneau, Florida. And he was a fisherman, a commercial fisherman. He had his own boat. Him and his sons would go out, invite me out. And they were mostly, during the summer, diving. But they were bare feet everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And
He got all those nerves.
yeah, then there was a patch in the marina where there were these stones, and we were all bare feet, and these guys were running across it. When I got to it there, I was tiptoeing, you know, and they were laughing at me. Aha, you haven't got the good feet yet. You know? So I really realized that in those days, I better put my shoes on. Now I realize, no. I better use bare feet more often and get used to this.
And remember, when you're barefoot, you're grounding to the earth, and we're electrical beings, and we absorb that electrical magnetic energy from grounding to the earth.
Yeah.
So, and he mentions that he believes in earthing and absorbing electrical charge.
Yeah. Watch your back. He says, I've had back issues and injuries over the year. When your back goes out, you're out of commission. So give it relief, do stretching, inversion, strengthen it with core and stand-up paddle boarding. He says, do 20 minutes of headstands every day. You probably won't age as much. And I've been doing headstands for quite a while, and it really does, actually, it relaxes my shoulders, which is an amazing thing.
Exactly. He's kind of taking that weight and you're reversing it.
Yeah.
And that's true. You know, your back and your core are tied together in terms of strength. So strengthen your back, you're going to have a stronger core. Strengthen your core, you'll have a stronger back.
Yeah. And he says, do the water workout from hell. And to me, he says, swimming laps in a pool is like punishment, like being in a cage. And I kind of agree. Of course, I have the endless pool type of situation where I can kind of just swim. But just swimming is not enough. I think you really have to do the burst type of thing. So things like, you know, doing the dolphin kicks and getting high out of the water and using your arms and legs. These are things that you can do in a pool. You don't need a special pool. You can do so many things in water.
The resistance is there.
Yeah, and there's been so many studies done in Canada about swimming because, you know, half the year they're under snow and ice, so you have to get relief by going to the YMCA and getting in that swimming pool.
Yeah, like he said, out of his own disdain for lap swimming, he created a workout that is the greatest routine you can possibly do.
Yeah.
And it's a bouncing, no impact, high intensity strength and cardio workout.
It's kind of the same
cross
routine
between swimming and weightlifting.
Yeah, I kind of do the same routine in my pool as I'm doing on the trampoline. You know, so you're bouncing up and down and moving all around. You're suspended. No injuries, no possible problems that can go wrong unless you don't hold your breath, I guess.
You know, we live on the beach, so I like to suggest to people, if you like to walk on the beach, actually get don't just walk on the sand. Walk in the water where you're up to your knees or so, and you have that resistance of the water right there, and you're walking. So that's kind of cool.
Okay, we're up on a break here. I'd like to remind people to pick up my new Health Signals newsletter.
Good stuff.
I've got a whole section in here about Tylenol and things we talked about the other day. And talking about your digestion and talking about eating right and purifying your water. So a lot of things in here to get your research done so you can make up your own mind about how you want to stay healthy. I think that's an important thing. Okay, so we're going to be right back. Pick up some Primal Edge, pick up the newsletter, and register for our webinar coming up on the 4th of August at 6:30.
And welcome back. And what is your attitude about aging? A positive attitude about your age can help you to stay happy and healthy well into your golden years.
Yeah, older individuals who reportedly have a positive self-perception of aging lived 7.5 years longer than those with a less positive self-perception of aging.
Yeah, and older people with positive stereotypes about aging were 44% more likely to recover from severe disability than those with negative age stereotypes.
Yes. So
if you believe it, you can achieve it. What you think about, you bring about.
Exactly. Age is largely a state of mind. You're only really as old and young as you feel. Your doctor may fill in a few things. He says your blood pressure is this and this is happening in your body. But really, how you feel about yourself determines just about everything. My dad had this attitude from day one, at least as long as I've known him. He always had these stories about attitude and how you can change your mind about things and how you can feel lucky about yourself and how you can feel that even though something's bad is happening to you, this is an indication of how the direction you should be moving in the future.
And your dad was a wise one, and science is proving that.
No doubt about it.
You know, we've got... We've got The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton that shows that our cells actually change based on what our thoughts are.
Yeah.
So why don't we all work harder at being empowered by, healthy thoughts about ourselves, about people, the planet, and everyone around us?
My first memory of my dad that comes to mind when I think of him is in the morning hearing him sing. He's always humming an opera song or something like that. He's going around, oh, no, 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 using that deep voice and everything, and you could hear it throughout the house, and that's what I would wake up to.
That was a great thing to wake up to.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, just the sound of happiness and the sound of someone you love's voice is healing. Because sound is healing.
That's right. That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
Your thoughts about aging may become a self-fulfilling prophecy, as we've just said. So we really want to help you to understand that the way you view the effects of aging can have a real impact on you.
The researchers noted that the effect was partially mediated by the will to live. Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just the knowing the will to live. In fact, in the operating room, I know that people are saying this guy's got a will to live because he keeps on going. They always said about my dad, your dad is hanging on, his heart is so strong. His will was so strong. And when he was ready to die, he was ready to die, and he said, I'm ready to die. I'm ready to leave. Everything's good. Don't worry about me.
Right.
Take care of yourself is what he told me. He was just a special guy. He was there on his deathbed.
How old was your dad?
74.
Yeah, young though, actually.
Young, very young. He was a
world.
picture of health except for the pancreatic cancer and from eating the carbohydrates and the ice cream at night and just the lifestyle that was kind of mandated to elderly people in those days in the 90s.
Yeah, and it is scary because there are so many older people who do crave that ice cream at night, and they're really giving themselves a sugar bomb.
Yep.
Or they're eating the chemical ice cream, maybe if they made it from grass-fed raw milk.
Well, I think in the beginning he was eating the good stuff, but I noticed in the later years, in the 90s, of course, it was the height of the no-fat craze.
Oh,
so then you
just
brought out
sugar.
the new Breyer's ice cream with the low fat in it, and it was really the wrong way to go. Whether it would have made a difference, who knows, But
so your mindset can actually help you to live longer. We know that. So provide it's a positive one. Older individuals who reported positive self-perceptions of aging during middle age lived that 7 to 5 years longer than those with less positive.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we want to just think good thoughts?
Well, it's difficult to think good thoughts when your body's in turmoil. If you're waking up with a headache and you can't digest anything, you're sitting on the bathroom for hours, you're constipated, you've got headaches and your joints ache, it's a little bit hard to gather that all together and say, boy, I feel great.
Yes.
So the most important thing is start with the food. The attitude is important because you know the food is going to heal you. But use that in combination and start digging deeper, folks, so you can get this attitude of living a full life.
That's right. Have an attitude of gratitude, be healthy, live a long life, live longer, live stronger, live primal.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time. Have
Thanks
a
for
great
sticking around, folks. Bye-bye.
You're watching Tiger TV.